At some point in the digital age of boss babes, new money, and ambitious rookies, we stopped consulting our village's wisest. Women have been the heartbeat of the world within their respective communities, workforces, and families since the dawn of time. They are the magic makers, the peacemakers, and the ass kickers. Let's celebrate them with the Matriarchy Party.
Hello, party goers. We are back with another episode of the Matriarchy Party. And wow, it feels like I haven't talked to you in weeks here, but it hasn't been that long. Let me give you a status update before we get into our hot and talented guest today, which will just leave you on the edge of your seat until she joins us here today. But work was kind of wild this week because I went to Budapest for work. I've never been. Everybody said I'd come back saying Budapest because that's how you say it apparently, but I kind of feel like that's like Ibiza or Barcelona. And like, unless you've been there and are like a native speaker, I feel like it kind of sounds silly when you're like, oh yeah, I just vacation. Like you're speaking in one accent and then all of a sudden you throw in like a Barcelona. It's like, okay, girl, who are you kidding? So I didn't come back saying it where was I? Budapest. But apparently I'm saying it wrong because I'm saying Budapest. So all of that to say, I was there for 4 days. I was working on a movie set, which is, I usually am on a press tour or a film fest or a Comic-Con in more of a marketing promotional window rather than like seeing how the sausage is made, like being on set, creating the art, which is so not about social. It's about making great art that people want to buy tickets and see. But there's a lot of value in like banking social content on set because people love BTS, which is great for me as it's my livelihood. But I worked with such an amazing cast that was so down to do things, and it just couldn't have gone better. I'm just delighted. Like, you won't see any of this for probably over a year, but just know in your hearts what's to come is just so delightful. Like, the cast and crew were so phenomenal. My last set experience was tricky because, I mean, sometimes it's just tricky. Like I said, it's just so not about social media and like messing around making TikToks. So, and I'm self-aware to know that. But like, so much of my job is reading the room and like knowing when to push, knowing when to not, knowing when to get out of the room, knowing when to create a problem solve. And that is a skill that not everybody has, the like reading the room piece. But anyways, the last set experience, although so fun, I didn't feel as like lucrative with all of the outcome that I captured because everybody was focused on making that and didn't have a lot of downtime because in the downtime they were reworking the script and all the things that you do to have a movie moving and grooving and being successful. So although they were doing all of that, obviously working in another country was amazing, which was a total surprise for me because when I had first got booked for it, I was thinking it was going to be filming in LA or like Atlanta or even Toronto would be like the exotic land that I would be traveling to. So when they said Budapest, I was like, what? How exciting. And there was potentially a part 2 and another really cool place, but that got canceled. But there's just nothing like crushing it at work and then like leaving and you're like, yes, that was awesome. And the stickler for this one was it was overnights, which I have never done. And a fun fact you may not know about me is I am a sleepy girl who loves to go to sleep at about 9:30 on a normal, like in real life, not fantasy life. So it was just funny that we literally started work from 4 to 8 p.m. and like went to bed at 6 a.m. every day. And I was like, what is it? Like, this is my like club goer era. I'm just sleeping after the sun is out. Look at me. Luckily, I just kind of stayed on Pacific Coast time. So that was my hack. Usually I have like a process when I land from the airplane. This all could be very boring. I'm just telling you all the things here, I guess. Like you want to know, but usually I have my process when I'm traveling on a 10 or 12 or 16 hour flight, what I do when I land to like hack jet lag. And this was just, everything had to be thrown out of the window because I got home, took a nap, which is usually the cardinal rule. You do not look at that bed. You have to stay awake till 9 or 10. And then I stayed up until like 3 or 4 and went to the gym and like ate dinner, breakfast, and then went to sleep. There was all these things, all these different components. But now I'm like, I feel like I have a new superpower and skill. But I met so many cool people. Of course, like I'm close in touch with like publicity and the ADs and the second ADs and the PAs and the set stills photographer and the BTS cameraman, a lot of cool women. There was a lot of great, cool men too. The director and the producers and ADs were very cool. Everybody there was so lovely and warm. But a lot of women that were like really making like logistics happen. And the older I get, I feel like I'm more proudly and known to myself how type A I am, that we love schedules. I think I was chronically 6 minutes late for a lot of my early adulthood. And so now, like, we love a schedule. We love logistics. We love, like, knowing the point of contact. We love knowing who to ask and not feeling like a burden. I have questions. You know, every set is different. Every team is different. There's, like, I want to respect the chain of command and reps. And luckily, like, on this cast, I had worked with 2 of the actors before. And so that was great to already have a rapport and trust there. And a lot of the talent teams, even if I hadn't worked with the actors before, I had known the team. So that makes my job a lot easier. And then people feeling more comfortable, because if they haven't worked with me before, they're like, who is this person? What is she just walking in the room asking for things? And obviously, again, it comes down to reading rooms and knowing when there's downtime. But couldn't have gone better, I guess, is my long story along there. But shout out to all the cool women making things happen. Like, just 8 of my new best friends that maybe I'll never see again, which is the funny thing about these things, that you're like, wow, after 4 days, I can't imagine. They've been working on this for months and months. So for me, I was like, we're family now, aren't we? And I'm like, well, have a good life. I'll follow you on Instagram. Which is kind of funny, because that's how this is a nice transition into my super cool guest today, because instantly we locked eyes and we're like, do we know each other? Have we met? And we were just smiling right away, which has only happened like one other time in my life. And that's like one of my best friends. And we've just been Instagram besties ever since, because I haven't seen you in person since we met. But today's guest of the party is my new but very close via social media friend, Mariah Owen, who's an award-winning multi-hyphenate actor, writer, director, and producer. I met her when Lionsgate invited me to attend a screening, which was very cool, because usually I'm working the screening, not attending. And this was very on brand for Matriarchy Party and just everything I'm about, for Mariah's amazing, cool film, Scrambled, which she acted in and produced. I was like, and wrote a little bit, or actor? Well, we'll get to that, I guess. But but if you haven't seen it, you must. It's so important, especially to women. I mean, men should see it too, totally. But it's a true story of writer and director Leah McKendrick, and it follows her on this journey in her 30s, and her biological clock is ticking, and she's deciding to freeze her eggs, which is such a process. And it really breaks down, like, obviously, I mean, I don't know. And I am not somebody who's ever explored that. So I haven't looked into the logistics of, like, the hormones and, like, how many layers of emotions it's locking. And I'm like, just the mental and physical toll that takes. It's such a huge thing. So it follows her on this journey. And it's super empowering. I laughed, I cried. I can't say enough good things about it. It's streaming on Hulu right now. So first of all, put a little, write yourself. You got to go see Scrambled. Go stream it if you haven't. But anyway, Mariah founded her Webby honoree production company, GTE Productions, at the ripe age of 21. You were just a baby child. Has had films play at some of today's top festivals, South by Southwest in 2017 and 2023. And can be found on Amazon, Apple, CBC, Gem, and more. She's created content for some of the world's largest brands, such as Marvel, Pandora, and NHL. No big deal. You can also check out her next feature, Gracie and Pedro, Pets to the Rescue, hitting theaters on October 18th. It's starring huge stars, Brooke Shields, Alicia Silverstone, and Danny Trejo. Come on. More importantly, she's a proud dog mom. So I know that's what the heavy-hitting questions that we're about to ask here today. But yeah, Mariah and I had an instant connection, and we've been friends on Instagram ever since. And that was that. I'm super inspired by her, doing all the moving and shaking. She's got her hands on so many cookie jars, like I had just mentioned, and so many cool projects. I'm like, what carpet is she on? What state is she in? What convention is she in? What film fest is she doing? She's a part of so many things. Mariah, thank you for blessing us on the party here today. Welcome.
Hello. Oh my gosh. I'm so excited to be here. You are the coolest.
You're
so
the
I'm
coolest.
really lucky.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. I know how busy you are, and this has been a long time coming. I feel like we talked about it for months and months. So I'm so happy.
I know. And you were just in Budapest? What?
I was. I know. Like seemingly 72 hours ago. And we're back. We're in it.
Yeah, we're back, baby. Look at you go.
Well, how are you doing? What's on your week? What are we doing this week?
That is a great question. I've been back in Toronto for the last couple weeks prepping some projects, which have been really fun. And I actually snuck up about 2 hours north of Toronto to just celebrate Canadian Thanksgiving with my family. We have a place up here. So
right. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving. And so I'm really, really stoked to kind of have some downtime, but also I came up a little bit before my family so I could get some writing done,
Of course.
just like really I love it up here.
Some
It's so
downtime, but how can we make it productive?
exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
That's so
So that's
fun. So a nice mix of like some downtime and rest and powering through some projects on your to-do list and family.
yeah, which is great. And getting ready for next week, Gracie and Pedro comes out in the US. So we're super stoked about that.
Next week.
Yeah, next week. I can't believe it. I'm like, how it's basically Halloween and then it's Christmas. Like, what? And then it's next year.
No, it
How
is.
did it
In
happen?
5 minutes. I feel like August lasted 6 months and September was like 30 seconds long. And now it's Halloween.
Yes,
And
100%. I
by the time
completely.
this comes out, it'll probably be Thanksgiving. So then happy US Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Wow.
Thankful for everybody. Thank you.
That's right. I'm so thankful for you for being here.
Thank
I
you.
can't believe that's so sweet. Thank you. We were just talking about your project and it's animated.
Yes.
And it's what day is it coming out and where can people see it?
Totally. So it's coming out on October 18th. So next Friday. So a week today, actually, which is wild. And if you go onto Fandango, you can see all the places that we're playing. We're really, really excited about it. We're playing in some big AMC theaters as well as some small town theaters. So you'll be able to find us. And it's a family-friendly movie. It follows a dog and a cat who get separated from their family on a cross-country move. And they really have to get over their differences to get along, and they meet all of these cool, crazy characters, and it's a lot of fun. And my first time doing
Cute.
animation.
Wow. There must be so many different layers to making animation. And
Totally.
I mean, in contrast.
Yeah, and so I jumped on the project August 2020. So it's been a long time coming, and I came into the project when they had already been developing and working on it for a couple of years. So animation takes a long time, especially when it's independent like we are. And so I came on board to service produce the project originally, which means that an American project and it could be UK project comes to Canada, does work here and hires performers. And then there's tax incentives involved. So it's an American project, came up to Canada to shoot, and then actually did our animation in South Africa. And then throughout that process, I just became more involved and came on to be on the producing team. And yeah, so it's a pretty cool trajectory. And I've really loved it. So I'm excited.
That's so exciting. I'm so excited to see it. I can't believe, I mean, when we were first talking about it, it was like, oh, so many months away until fall.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Yeah.
What
It's
a time.
so true.
But so
Yeah.
many cool stars in it. And I know when you first started, it was like one role and then your trajectory just like added on 6 new jobs. So I feel like you've been
Totally.
servicing it in many directions.
Yeah, and I mean that's the beauty of producing. It's always something different. And during that peak of COVID in 2020, and no one knew what was going on. And so I was like, oh, I get to do the thing that I love while the world's on fire. Okay, sign me up, start the car. Like I'm excited, even though it's something that I haven't had the opportunity to do before. So I'm really grateful that I got to do it. Yeah.
Yay. Oh, well, I'm sure it's fantastic. That sounds very like, I don't want to say homeward bound adjacent, but like who doesn't want pets on the road, and reuniting with their family? I'm sure it'll bring a tear to eyes. I can't wait to see it.
Funny. And it's funny. And I think based on our voice cast, like as you mentioned, Brooke Shields, we have Alicia Silverstone, Danny Trejo, Susan Sarandon, Bill Nye, Al Franken. So all of these really unique,
Like up and coming, like independent, these actors nobody's heard of.
they're like
It's
super indie.
yeah, nice of you to take a chance on the little guys.
Yeah. We gotta help these like emerging.
That's amazing cast.
Yeah, it's insane. It's insane. So feel really, really lucky to be a part of it. And just I think it goes to show that it's a story that can reach a very wide audience. I definitely think that parents will enjoy the film as well. Just who said yes, They're like it's insane to me that when you make movies, people, jump on board.
And that, my friends, is another example of asking for what you want. Because
Yes.
just never, people are going to surprise and delight you with saying yes back to you.
Yep. So true. Yep.
I love it. Well, I always start this party off with asking, when we think of matriarch, we think of a woman who's the head of their family, tribe, or organization. When in your life, have you felt like you've had to demonstrate those traits either by necessity or not?
It's a great question. I think that that role for me and what that means has shifted over the years. I think when I was, growing up, even as a teenager, I was a high level athlete. I was on Team Canada. And so I think being an athlete, I felt that way. Like I always felt really responsible for my teammates and not necessarily just in the sense of us competing and we have to do our best, but, making sure everyone felt safe and valued and made them laugh. And I think being that type of person and that's what that meant to me and making sure people felt valued. And then I think when I started my production company, I was 21, like a crazy person.
What?
And I think, sometimes it takes a lot of fortitude and delusion, as a matriarch to see something come to fruition. So I think that is something that's the time.
It's
And now, yeah, sorry.
no, I was going to say, been ingrained in you since you were just like a teen.
Yeah, I just don't really know any other way. And I think all the women in my life are really similar. Like I grew up around women who wanted to bring other women up and bring them together and to do hard things. So it just kind of was like, oh,
That's what
it's
you
not
do.
really, yeah,
Yeah.
it's just like who you are.
It's part of life. That's
yeah.
so cool. And that's how it should be. And
Mhm.
I love, what sport was it?
I grew up in gymnastics, cheerleading, and ski racing. So
Okay,
my mom,
three.
yeah, three sports. So my mom's a gymnastics coach. And so I grew up in the
You
gym.
had to, yeah.
Yeah, and so from gymnastics I got into cheerleading and then I was on Team Canada for cheerleading and but I raced provincially for skiing too and yeah, I love sports. I love doing things,
I love it. Just doing the most, which yeah, it doesn't surprise me with the way that you like run your business and your life and all of like your commitments. I feel like you're on boards and organizations and have your hands in a lot of cookie jars. So the teamwork and the supporting your people was just something that's second nature.
Totally.
Well,
Yeah.
with all of that, what is your ideal morning routine or day off?
Okay, I need to get a morning routine. I do not have one. Like
It's such
I
a
don't even
buzzword
know-
right now, like morning routine. But like,
yeah. People are like, "What's your skincare routine or regimen? What's your morning routine?" And
you
I'm
have
like,
great skin.
oh, thank you so much. But I'm like, am I a bad adult because I don't have one?
No.
Like, okay, typically my morning routine, and it depends. Like if I'm shooting until 5 in the morning, I'm not going to get up
Right.
at 8, 7:30,
Yeah.
But I would say regardless of that, usually I'm up. I have my dog who I love. Her name is Mammoth. And
What
so
kind of
get up.
beast?
She
Sorry, you're never going to get a word in. I need to know about the dogs,
No,
how
no, no,
old,
no.
what kind.
Oh, absolutely. She is the love of my life. She's a German Shepherd Black Lab mix.
Oh my goodness.
And yeah, she's the best. We've been everywhere together. She's probably been more places than most human beings. Like she's driven across the country with me, driven across all actually North America. Yeah, she's been on boats, ferries, obviously through the like I could
She's got a
we could talk
passport.
about her. She has. She actually has a passport, which has her little like
Oh, cute.
yeah. But yeah, she's my buddy and she's asleep right now, but
Oh, don't bother her. No. It's very
right?
important.
But yeah, I definitely think that as I've gotten older and as I've gotten to, I'm not where I want to be in my career, but definitely as I've started to get more stability, it's been really important for me to have a type of routine for self-care
Mhm.
and definitely getting outside. We go on, big walks and getting fresh air, making sure I'm taking time for myself. So I think my morning routine really is making sure I'm hydrated. I get outside, I take care of my basic needs as well as hers, and I feel ready for the day. Like I used to jump out of bed and just do whatever
Yeah.
everyone else needed. And now I'm like, no, I need to do what I need to do first.
Yes.
So I can help other people.
That's so true. And I think there is so much pressure with having the perfect morning routine. And I always love hearing people's answers because it's almost like back before the digital age when we were reading magazines and it was like, what's in my bag? Like people want to know what are you using? What are you trying? How do you optimize your life and your body and yourself? But now it's like, we're all just houseplants, right? It's like getting some sunlight, some fresh air and some water and you're going to be great. But if you don't prioritize yourself, everybody else is going to be pulling you from the day you woke up. And like,
Yeah.
as I mentioned earlier, I'm a sleepy girl and I would be pressing that snooze button. So like, I just remember in high school and my 20s and like pressing snooze 1,000 times. And I still may, but I'm just like, future me is going to be so
not set up for success and just grumpy and not functioning at the level that I need her to be if I don't take that time. Like, even if it's 10 minutes, 20 minutes, like, and I have ADHD, so I have time blindness. So realistically, you need probably an hour, not 20 minutes. But like, if you can do the bare minimum, just schedule that time out, because
Totally.
gosh, it makes a difference in how like you're moving through the day. Like, I think just not getting overstimulated, if I have that time to, in a perfect world, like, it's exercise, it's meditation, it's like the gratitude, it's all my list of 65 different morning routine and action items. But you're like, if I can get through like the 5 things I know I really need to, the whole day is going to be, everything's interaction is going to go much better and smoother.
Totally. And I'm a big snooze girly too. And what I started to do was not have my phone charging right
Yes.
beside my bed.
Yep.
So I have to get up if I want to hit snooze. So now I don't hit snooze really, because I'm up and then I'm like, oh,
I guess
I have like an internal battle. I was like, I'm already up. I should get the day going.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, that's been a trick for me, because I've been a snooze girly too. And like, one thing about me, like I'll go to bed. I love my bed, you know?
Yeah. Ain't nothing wrong. I'm happy to go home. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
The party's fizzling out. I have my bed waiting. This is great.
Yeah. Yep. Irish exit. See you
Yes,
later.
see ya.
Yeah.
Have fun. Glad you're having fun. I have a bed
Yes.
at home, so
Yep.
can't wait.
Totally.
Oops,
And
keep knocking this.
it doesn't mean, hey, I know that you and I can definitely be the life of the party and love all
Right.
of that, but times where I'm like, I'm good. I'm good.
Are you introverted or extroverted?
I grew up thinking that I was so extroverted.
Right.
And as I've gotten older, and I think as I've gotten more comfortable and grown more into myself, I'm like, oh, I think I'm actually an extroverted introvert. Like,
Yeah.
I need to go and recharge. Like, I love people, I really do, but I don't feel that same. I think I used to feel like, oh, I get so much energy from people. And now I'm like, oh no, that's stress. That was cortisol, honey. Like,
Yeah.
you need to know. So yeah,
true. Well, when I first learned about like introvert, extrovert, I feel like it's like outgoing is extrovert, and it's really about how you're recharging. And so I too, like, I'm like, I'm either an extroverted introvert or I'm like 49, 51%, because I'm like, I have got to recharge by myself. I need quiet time. Like,
Totally.
I can't be asked a question. I need to just like turn off my brain and be like totally vegetating. So yeah, it's funny learning that about yourself. You're like, oh, because outgoing, want to network, want to talk to all the people, want to be the life of the party, but that's draining. And then you got to recharge again.
And I think too, for us in our careers, like, we have to be on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the difference. Like, when I'm with my friends, I am fueled because I'm not on, I'm just being myself. But I think that when you're at work in our capacity, or anyone really in entertainment, and it's not like, it's such a gift to get to be in the industry that we're in. However, like, what I mean by being on, like, we're usually in producerial capacities. So you're like, okay, I got to make sure we get these people and everyone's happy and we're getting, doing the things. And I think when you have that, that also, it's like so much going on in your brain.
Yeah.
Versus being around people that you love, or, and I love a lot of people I work with, but like,
you don't have the decision fatigue. You can kind of turn off that like decision-making, producing, logistics piece, and like, which for better or for worse, like, I'm sure my husband and my family, like, sometimes I'm like, I got to check out. I'm sorry. I can't be operating at this, maintaining that level of being on.
So true.
But man, what a puzzle being a human is,
It's true. And I think it sounds like you're very lucky too, when you're able to be like, I gotta go. Yeah. Like, I think my friends are like, oh no, she's going to get the zoomies or pass out.
Yeah.
Like, she has to go.
Catch her. She's falling. Oh no, she's going down.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm very lucky.
Thank goodness. Because I mean, I guess that's true. Friends and family in that way, that you're like, you can see me at my most energy depleted version, cranky, and still love me and not judge me, because I'm a real human, and so are you. But what does success look like to you now? How has it evolved from in your teens, 20s to now?
That's a really good question. I think I really struggled with that in my early 20s, because I did so much before I turned 16. Like, I was on the national team, became a world champion with Team Canada, graduated high school. I was 16, went to University of Toronto, like, I boom, 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 boom. And I did all of these things. And then, starting my company at 21, like, everything was in the fast lane. And then it felt like, I had some success within the entertainment industry, but it wasn't like that constant dopamine hit that it felt like in my my younger days.
Yeah.
I got really early on, and in so many different arenas. And so I think I really struggled in my early to mid 20s, partnered with, I lost a lot of people who I loved, unfortunately. So grief can be so complicated. And so I think it was
Yeah.
just like really a weird chapter for me where like I would say on Instagram, or my IMDb things were like looking awesome. And I was like, I'm a loser. And
Oh,
yeah, it sucked. And during COVID, it forced so many people to reevaluate things. And it really gave me that opportunity too. And to sit with things, to work through things. And I was like, what does my perfect life look like? And no life's ever perfect, but what do I need to feel happy? What do I need to feel secure? And I just really started reevaluating how I was spending my time, who I was spending my time with. And so I think now for me, success looks like having the freedom and the flexibility to do the things that I want to do with the people I want to do them with. And I know that sounds probably very trivial and
no.
easy. But that shifted so much for me. I was like, do I want to do this? No, then I'm not doing it, unless it's my taxes. I don't want to go to jail, so I'll do my taxes.
Begrudgingly,
But
we
like,
must do.
but really thinking about that and being like, trying to give myself the grace or the advice that I would share with other people, and live by that truthfully. So I think for me, success now is like, I'm at a point in my career where I'm really excited about what's next and the opportunities and the rooms I'm finally getting to be in. I'm not where I want to be yet, but I definitely think that I'm trying to implement balance in my life now that I completely eradicated or ignored in my early 20s,
Yeah. I mean, that's the older you get, and I think we're similar in a way that we're like grinding from such a young age. I'm like, I don't know what the thing is, but I'm going to do all the things. And I'm going to be in 10 different networking groups. And I'm going to go to every event I'm invited to. And I'm going to say yes to things that I don't really want to go to because something's going to happen. And eventually that did pay off. I mean, for both of us, and got us in the rooms and introduced us to people that would ultimately push us into the trajectory that we maybe didn't even know that we wanted when we were, I don't know, when I was thinking what I wanted to do when I was 14 years old. We're all just trying to make that 14-year-old happy and delighted with adult money and resources. But I think that is like realizing quality time, being able to spend your time the way that you see fit, any kind of flexibility and freedom, like financially and time. That's what anybody's goal should be. It seems like, oh, duh, but really that's the goal.
Totally. And I think realizing that my intentions and my goals, my wants, needs, desires, all of that is enough, and if I want to do it, that's enough reason to, thinking about it, obviously, if there's, risk involved. But for the most part, I think I really put other people's goals, wants, needs, stories ahead of my own in a lot of capacities.
Yeah.
And so I think now success is being like, okay, like I can do that. And I can also do this. Like I can do it all.
Yeah. It may not all get the same level of you, but you can do it all.
Yeah. And also it's like when you are everywhere, I remember growing up, everyone would be like, oh my gosh, you have your finger in so many different pots. Like, how are you ever going to bake a pie? And I was like, I don't really get that metaphor, but okay.
No, I'm just going to have 100 more pies than you are.
I was like, I love pie. Duh.
You underestimate how much I love pie. Okay.
Yeah. I was like, sounds great. But now I'm like, oh yeah. Like I understand what people were saying. They just said it in a way that was so negative that I rejected it growing up. And I had like, it's so weird because I've always had more people who have believed in me than not growing up, but I've had such a strong way. Like when someone is like, oh, you can't do it. I'm like, watch me do it. Like, and so it's interesting in that, like that way where I'm like, oh, well, do I even want to do it? Like, do I? So now that's what I think about in success. Like, okay, sure. This project, there's a big budget and maybe there's a star attached and maybe it could help, but do I like the script? Right. Do I like what is being said? doesn't align with me. So no, I'm not going to do it. And I think that's like, I maybe a different producer would do that, and that would bring them more money and more opportunity. And that's great. Maybe I should do that, but I'm just not built that way, and I think that leads to burnout when you're unintentional about the things you're doing, just chasing success. It's not going to come.
Yeah.
So I want to funnel my energy and my time and my talent into things I'm really intentional and stoked about. And that's how I hope to find success.
That's the goal. I mean, you nailed it. Yeah. I feel like being able to say no is such a luxury privilege for sure. I said no for a client on like probably the first time in like 3 years of having my own company last week. And it was,
good job.
And I was like, this can't with my schedule right now be a thing, but let me recommend you someone great. And I was like, old me is like, say yes, money and opportunity. We love it. And we do. But it's like, if that's not serving you in the way that like, what is the objective? What is the big picture? Then, so I was very proud of myself because it is hard to say no when you are writing your own checks.
Totally. Well, I'm proud of you too. Good job. That's not easy.
Thank you. And likewise, I mean, it's a constant thing that we're learning of like, okay, what is this going to fulfill me in the way that I want to be fulfilled? And if not, I mean, not, and like you said, we have to do taxes. We have to do things that we don't love to do. But like, if you get a choice, like something that's like filling your tank might not fill your competitor's tank or a colleague or like, and you're like, so why not put your name in for the things that you do really want to work on? And they're not all energy givers, but like, if you could have more of that, ask for more of that.
Totally.
Well, how do you prepare for something scary?
Oh, I think that's a really good, I'm a recovering procrastinator. So I'm working really hard on not procrastinating. And I don't procrastinate the big things. It's like little things.
Yeah.
Little things that take like 10 minutes. I find absolutely terrifying, which makes no sense. Like an email. Why am I scared of that? Who knows? But so I'm actively working on that. But I think how I prepare for something that's scary, like I'm grateful there aren't many things work-wise that I find daunting or scary. I think maybe because in my mind, it's always an opportunity to grow. Mm-hmm. Truthfully, like there's certain things where I'm like, oh, I get to work with that actor. Oh, okay, amazing. Well, I've worked with other actors before. I can work with this actor. I think there's certain things or like if we have to shoot something that was scary, like shooting scenes that have a lot of stunts or effects and we're lighting stuff on fire and all of that, that's scary. Yeah. Because that's safety. But I have to make sure I do my due diligence and I'm organized and I'm hyper specific about who we bring on, who has the skill set to do that job, and then trust them to do that. So I think it depends on what's scary. So work-wise, there's not too much that scares me because I try to be overly prepared and super hyper organized. And because as a producer in particular, like, yes, I'm a writer, director, actor, but when I'm producing, it's my job to keep my team safe. Yeah. It's my job to keep people healthy and happy. And like, we make movies, we don't save lives. So I got to make sure that people feel that way when they go to work. Yeah. Scary in my personal life, I think how I deal with it now is being like, okay, is this going to matter to me in 5 years? Yes or no? And if it is going to matter to me in 5 years, I got to deal with it right away. And usually that's something like interpersonal, or if there's a topic or an issue or whatever it might be, I try and nip it in the bud immediately. Because the longer I let it progress and fester, the worse it's going to be. So I haven't prepared for something too scary recently.
But it sounds like preparation and being organized.
Yeah, I guess. And I think just acknowledging the fear before I let it fester.
Chain stitch that on a throw pillow. Acknowledge the fear before you let it fester. Boom. Yeah. That's so wise.
Thanks.
Well, speaking of wise, let's talk about some of your women in your life. Who are we talking about? Matriarchs.
Oh my gosh, I have so many. I mean, my mom, my grandma Hazel, my Aunt Janet. I have great aunts, my great aunt Dolly and Aunt Harry, and my Nana. Like I'm really, really lucky. I've been raised and surrounded by so many strong, smart, funny women, and for the most part, they all worked, which is crazy.
That's crazy and not a surprise considering the kind of person that you are, of that's who you had guiding you.
Yeah. And I don't mean that to sound like, oh, it's a surprise, because to me it's a no-brainer. But when I look back and I think now as a woman with a company, I'm like, oh my God, like I couldn't have even gotten a credit card in the mid 70s. I couldn't
Right.
even have bought a house. Like, what? So I think there's, I look at my grandma Hazel, like she worked, my mom worked my whole life. So watching her and my dad work, and my dad's always been so encouraging of me doing whatever a guy can do, I can do, and I can probably, do it better. So, I'm
Slay.
grateful. I've been slay. I've just been really grateful to be inspired and be around women who went after the things they wanted,
And men who supported the women around them.
Yeah.
Love that.
Totally.
Rock on.
Yeah.
That's ideal. Were you close with all of the women through, growing up, I think relationships with moms and daughters and grandma, sometimes it's complicated, or like cousins, and family's hard. So were you close with all of them forever?
Yeah. I think it's so interesting. My mom and I were basically inseparable, all growing up. And when I was 16, I started my undergrad. And I think there's definitely been growing pains, I think because as you get older, you get to meet your parents as human beings, and you realize, oh, your parents are real people too. And I think there's a lot, like as much as I've seen my mom work my whole life and work really hard and be good to people and, be surrounded by all these amazing women. I'm the first woman in my whole family to ever buy a house on her own or have her own company and do, so there's like so many things that I'm inspired by, but I'm still the first. And I think because of that, there's been I need to learn sometimes to have a little bit more grace, like even just hearing stories now, I'd be like, oh, why did that person stay? Like, why did that person not change jobs if they were unhappy, and I think my experience has been inspired by, but different than so many of my other amazing women around me,
Yeah. What do you think was one of your matriarch's biggest dreams or goals? And do you think that they accomplished that, or maybe it evolved into something else?
Oh, that's a really good. Oh, my great grandma Mary, she immigrated to Canada from Romania. And growing up, I guess to my mom, I met her when I was 5, and then unfortunately she passed away. But she said to my mom, like, oh, I didn't come here for you. Like, she didn't come here for her son, my grandpa. She didn't come here for my mom. She came here for me, because it takes generations. And so I think that now, as I've gotten older, I realize how much the women in my life, I'm like, I kind of feel a little emotional about it, like how much they sacrificed on both sides, and how much they did so that I could do what I do today.
Honestly, when you're like, we're dicking around making movies in Hollywood and the things that which is hard. It is a very hard job what you do. But I'm saying like, wow, like the women before you and the sacrifices and like what it must have taken for her to get there from Romania. Like, it was all part of the plan.
All
so
part
that
of the plan.
You can do your dream now.
Totally. And I think like, I really wish my grandma Hazel, she was awesome. She lived with us growing up, and my grandma on my dad's side. And I just think about like how different her upbringing was. I think how different, like even just technology alone, like there's just all of these things that I think life is so much easier. We have access now, but it's almost because that access, things are more complicated. I don't think they're harder. I think they're complicated.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
Wow. Do you, are grandmas still
They're
alive?
all gone.
They're all gone. Ugh.
They're all gone. Yeah. It's so crazy to me. Like, I'm so grateful for all the time that I had with them growing up.
Yeah.
But I think like, I'm like, oh shit. Like now I'm really cool. Like, can't you see me now?
They do.
Like, yeah.
They
So
do.
I think they do, and I don't mean like, I'm really cool, but I'm a lot cooler than
but
I
you're
was
like,
when I was
you
15.
want to see them,
Yeah.
see what all your sacrifices afforded me to do. And like, am I making you proud with my hard work and accomplishing these dreams that like
literally would have been such like a fairy tale in any of their minds. Like when you said
Yeah,
like couldn't have a credit card, buy your house, like get a divorce without your husband's permission, like up
totally.
until recently. So that's,
Yeah,
we are just like a figment of our grandma's wildest dreams.
totally. And like, I'm just so grateful. And I think a thought I think about weirdly pretty frequently is like, what does it mean to be a homemaker?
Yeah.
And I think like I look at my mom, I look at my grandmas, I look at my aunts, even like really close friends of my parents. They all have made amazing homes, you know, and different ways of like not necessarily abiding by the societal standards at that time, but it's like, what does that mean? And creating spaces where there's love and opportunity and flexibility and
Support
yeah,
and
support and fun. You
yeah.
know, you got laugh.
And
So
that's like the ideal childhood or just home
yeah,
environment.
yeah,
You want to walk in and feel all of those things.
yeah,
And it's not easy to do. I mean, just seeing friends and family members having children and creating their own family. And I'm like, I have my own family too. Like we have our own families with the
yeah.
animals and that, but it's hard to keep that
Really
vibe
hard.
that way. So a lot
Yeah,
more respect. I mean, like with everything, seeing your parents and elders as real people that didn't get a handbook either,
yeah,
and just how hard it is to be a human and create the life. And everybody might have sought after something different with their parents, but like you could plan all you want and you're going to get a kid who needs something totally different, like is what
yep,
it seems like. So,
totally,
respect, that's a huge thing. Do you,
absolutely.
you can pick any of your matriarchs. What do you admire most about all of them, one of them, some of them?
Oh, I would say all of them were incredibly and I mean, obviously my mom's still alive and my Aunt Janet. But they're all so unique in who they are and they're really rooted in what they believe in, you know? And I think that's really cool. And even if there's things that we disagree on, we're still able to hear the other person
That's
and be like,
important.
why do you think like
Yeah.
that? Or like, oh, I've never thought about it like that.
Yeah.
You know? And so I think that they've all had their own charisma that is really, really contagious in the best way, you know, and they're all funny. Like I just like a bunch of funny, crazy, smart ladies, you know?
Sounds like a 90s sweet like movie, like with all these women just like laughing
Yeah.
and talking and like filling your house with love and joy.
Yeah.
Like,
And
you got to
I
write the
like
movie.
I know I need to. And I think some of my favorite, and then so my grandma was the youngest of 13, and my mom is the youngest of the first cousins. I'm the youngest of the second cousins. And so because of that, I like, you know, growing up, I always got to sit at the big kids table, or like if my mom went to go somewhere, I would just tag along. And so just hearing all the family lore, you know,
Yeah,
hearing all the tea for years, I'm like, interesting. Like there's so much that I have to sit down and
you
write about
do.
so
Well,
many of them, you know?
because you just as a young child were in a lot of rooms where like
Yeah.
probably things were hashed out and gossip was had and you're learning about things just at such a young age that you're like, huh, must
Yeah.
have been like very integral in like shaping your brain and how you see the world.
I think so too. Like I think, you know, I it definitely has shaped my sense of humor. You know, I think that having a family that is so large, an extended family large wise, you
Yeah.
know, it's given me the ability to really talk to anyone, connect with anyone. Um yeah,
That helps
just
you so much in your job now.
totally, totally. Yep. You know,
I
everyone's
feel
not your
similar.
cousin.
Yeah,
So
I'm like, oh, you know what? It's a great unifier.
yeah.
The weird
Oh,
family member. You at least
yeah.
have one, but
Yes. Yeah.
some of them
So
don't
true.
have to talk to them. Some of
Yeah.
us have to. So it's a gift. You got to make
It's a gift.
conversation. That's
Yeah.
why we can
Yep.
produce things.
Yeah.
Did any
Yeah.
of your matriarchs have a slogan or mantra that like stuck with you?
Um, I mean, oh man, that's a really good. I really work hard and be kind. That's been repeated. Like, show up, you know, get up, show up, dress up. Pretty much all of the matriarchs in my family are pretty snazzy dressers
Mhm.
and have had their own sense of style. So that's been
Cool.
really stick around. But I think just if you want it, you got to work for it. You
Yeah.
know, like it's not just going to magically happen overnight. You have to. And I think the other thing I'm grateful for now, especially in the industry we're in, like just the emphasis that happy girls are the prettiest girls, you know, just focus on
Yeah.
being happy. Don't focus on all the
The
external,
external.
physical,
Yeah.
materialistic stuff. Like just be happy, work hard, and be a good person.
That seems like that's the goal or should
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
That's great. And what
Yeah.
like a positive environment to, I mean, that's just like a really healthy way to look at things
Totally.
and things to prioritize.
Yeah.
Is there a song or beauty tip or piece of jewelry that makes you think of mom or grandmas or aunts?
Oh, my mom, anything that is sparkly,
Yeah.
like if it's dazzled, my mom needs it.
She's
Like,
gotta have it.
yeah, we shoes, like my great aunt Dolly, she loves shoes so much, and I definitely have a shoe. I wouldn't call it a shoe problem. I'm a collector
A
of
collector.
cool
It's
shoes.
different.
Okay,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think that that's like statement pieces. Anything that is, yeah, you know what? I'll say statement pieces remind me of the matriarchs in my life. But if it's sparkly or glittery, it's reminding me of my mom or my great aunt Dolly. So, yeah.
That's so cute. And great Aunt
Yeah.
Dolly. What a great aunt
Oh my
name.
gosh, she would love you. She was an icon. Absolute
I can
icon.
tell just by what you've said about her just a little bit. My mom,
Yeah.
I'm a twin. I have a twin brother, and she called me Dolly. I don't know why, but I was like, that's adorable, and I would like to bring that back around. I am Dolly again. So it's so
Yeah.
cute. But it
Yeah.
is funny to think about like your aunt name when you're, because my twin brother has a 4-year-old, almost 4. And I'm Aunt Coco to her, and nobody calls me Coco in real life. But I was like, will I be like a little old lady one day? And I'm like, great Aunt Coco, you know, or like, it's just funny to think about. Like,
Oh, I love that.
but I'm like, oh, cute. Like Aunt Dolly,
Yeah.
Coco. Yeah, sure. Whatever your aunt name is will stick with you, which I imagine is the same for like grandma, glamma, Gigi's, or whatever your grandma name is.
Totally. Did you have a nickname growing up?
Corky.
Quirky.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'd never heard that for Courtney, but I love that.
You know what? One of my best friends, her name is Courtney, and her dad called her Cork. And I was like, what? Because I had never heard anybody. And when you're a kid, like kids are mean and they would call me Porky. And I was like, rude. So I was like, I don't want to be called Corky. And now, like, especially my dad would call me like Corky Ann. Ann was my middle name. So like now it's obviously more endearing and he's passed on. But like, so I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have hated that nickname. Because you're just like, oh, I would love to hear him say that to me again. Now I'm going to get emo. But so I'm like, yeah, bring back whatever the nickname is. What was your nickname when you were a little kid?
Mimi. So my Nana used to call me Mimi.
Cute.
And yeah, when I was in elementary school, I feel like I can kind of tell if I haven't seen someone in a long time and based on what they call me,
yeah,
I'm like, oh yeah, you know? And so it's interesting now because Mimi is a lot easier to say than Mariah. And so my friends are starting babies and they're so cute. And, you know, so that's something
You're
that I'm
at
like,
Mimi.
oh, yeah, like it's so cute.
That's so
I'm
cute.
yeah, it's like it's bringing it back in a different way. So that's really
Very full
exciting
circle.
too. Yeah.
Oh, that's so sweet. Yeah, now I feel like I have like 4 nicknames, but my other bestie, her son calls me Uncle Court. And I was like, honestly,
fun.
It's pretty cool to be an uncle.
Okay.
So
yeah,
great.
You're a funkle. You're a fun uncle.
I'm definitely Funkle Court.
Yeah.
So well, final question.
Okay.
If you could say anything to your matriarch, one of them or all of them, what would it be?
Ooh, I would say thank you for taking the steps and the risks in your life so that I can live mine, you know, and for sacrificing what you have and what you do so that I can, like, you basically thank you for walking so I can run. You know, I think there's a
100%.
lot of them who made different sacrifices, or even if it wasn't a sacrifice or limiting themselves, it was something that they said to me that really encouraged me, that made me think that I could do anything and I can do anything, you know? And and growing up when that was not the societal standard, I think is huge. You know, I look at my grandma Hazel, she grew up in the Great Depression. And so her life was so different. And she was always like, you can do it. Or I would be like, it might be really hard. And she was like, okay. Like,
And
you know, and I think having someone like that in your life, or having multiple women in your life who just believe in you like that, it like rerouted and I think healed DNA in my family, you know? So I feel really lucky for that.
that's really special.
Yeah.
Oh, Wow. Thank you. I feel like I learned so much about you and your family today.
Thank
It
you.
was so special.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I think you're incredible, and I'm so inspired by you and everything that you do and how you show up in the world. So
Right
thank you for
back
having
at
me.
you. That's why we're such kindred spirits.
I know we were definitely friends in past lives.
1,000%.
Plural.
Because we were like,
Yeah.
it's you. Like,
Yeah.
I'll never forget it. It was so magical.
Yeah. I know.
Well, if you want to see more of what Mariah has going, you can follow her on Instagram at Mariah Owen, MariahIAH, Owen, OWEN on Instagram. Any other, obviously go see
Gracie and
projects.
Pedro.
Gracie and Pedro is out October 18th. So by the time you hear this, it'll already be out.
Woo! And Scrambled
On Hulu.
is on Hulu, which is really exciting. And I have some fun stuff that's going to come out in the new year. So I go into production on something in less than a month. So,
Yay! How excited!
Yeah.
Where are you filming that?
We're going to be filming in Nashville and in Kentucky.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, yeehaw.
Yeehaw. Bring your hat. Cool.
I will.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love that. Well, thank you for coming to our party, everybody. Remember, if you have the gift, have the lovely ability to call your mom, grandma, mentor, your aunt, great Aunt Dolly, if you will. Do it. Do it today. Tell them you love them. Ask them about their life. Get out there and make it a great week. Thanks. Bye.